to talk to us. Faisal Rahmatullah joining us there, the CEO of Plastics Capital. Now on to something entirely different. Andy Murray secures a place in the quarter-finals. He beat Sam Querrey from the US in 3 straight sets yesterday. Later today, the Williams sisters take to the courts at Wimbledon. So who should you put your money on to win the tournament? Peter Webb, Managing Director of BetAngel, joins us now. Peter, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
It sounds terribly fickle of any England football fan to suddenly say, oh, OK, I don't care about that anymore. Now I'm all behind the British hopeful at Wimbledon, but he has slightly more chance of doing well, it feels.
I think so, and I think we need a hero. We need a shot in the arm. We need a boost as a nation.
Sonia doesn't. She's laughing because she's from Germany. So she's got 11 heroes currently running about on pitches in South Africa.
That will soon change, won't it?
Murray's chances then, what do you think?
I think he's done very well because obviously in the Australian Open at the beginning of the year he had an excellent run. And obviously there was an advantage that he had against Nadal there in terms of Nadal retired. But I think that he's actually done very well because he's gone through a very small dip in form, but he's recovered well at Wimbledon. He's the only guy at the moment who hasn't dropped a set. And when you look at the way that Federer and Nadal have struggled on occasion, then I think it's a very good chance.
The Williams sisters then?
I was looking for some opposition to the Williams sisters, and I can't find any.
Well, it's the same in the men's game, though, with Federer. You know, you sort of, at the first game he played, looked pretty shaky, and people started to say, oh, wow, is there going to be some serious challenge? And then he managed to turn it around again, and then you can't help thinking, oh, dear, are we going to look for the same result yet again?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to look against Federer simply because he's such a great all-rounder. I think a couple of negatives that would go against him. He's much older than everybody else. He's a good 5 years older than most of the main participants in that side of the draw, or indeed that we expect to see in the semi-final and final. But when he struggled in the first round, he also struggled against Federer in the French Open. So that wasn't a huge shock, although it was a shock that he almost went out.
Just looking at the odds that you're offering there, 5-1 on... Was it 5-1 on Andy Murray? Yeah, that's not such a bad money maker if he did win.
Yeah, I think a lot hinges upon the Nadal and Soderling match that will take place today, tomorrow. Simply because if Nadal can see it through with Soderling, then I think Murray has a harder game. But overall, I think Federer's side of the draw is easier. You would expect him to reach the final. On this side of the draw with Murray, a little bit harder. But he's got a good chance. You know, he has a 3-7 record against Nadal, but Nadal's odds are drifting slightly, and he has struggled a little bit. So I think the market's pricing in the fact that maybe he's carrying an injury, maybe he can't perform to the best of his ability.
Serena Williams, I noticed, was speaking out about the virtues of technology. She was saying, you know, I don't know all that much about soccer, I guess she would have said, but I do think that technology should be introduced into football. Really interesting to see that this I mean, Wimbledon is known as it's a pretty traditional place, really, the way they protect their brand. It's all built on very traditional sort of British values, they like to think. And it's interesting that they have been at the forefront of adopting technology that could be so useful in other sports. Yeah,
and I think it's absolutely right. When you look at the amount of money that hinges upon each game, especially within football, where the market is worth billions, it's amazing to see that there is no indication that they will adopt the technology, which I think is crazy. There are obviously problems, but if you look at the model that tennis has adopted, then that has worked very well. And I think that it's surely inevitable that it will be adopted at higher levels in football.
Peter, thank you very much for joining us. Peter Webb, Managing Director at BetAngel. Sonia, let's get some final thoughts from you. How positive do you feel about